I want to begin by thanking Preschool California and the New American Media, Sacramento City Unified School District, the County Office of Education, and Hiram High School for hosting this important event today. We had a wonderful opportunity to see a moment ago how a quality preschool classroom works. And as a parent of 2 young children myself, who I'm proud to say are in the Sac City Unified School District system, I've had a chance to visit kindergarten classrooms. And you can tell which children have had preschool and which have not. The ones who've had are ready to learn. They know, as was talked about a moment ago, how to hold a pencil, how to open a book, how to understand, to read, and they're ready to learn. And the children who have not had that experience start behind. And sadly, even with all of the best efforts, sometimes those kids never catch up. And that's why it's critically important that we make sure that we have preschool available to all of our 3- and 4-year-olds, but particularly those who come from our most challenged families. We also had a chance to see how a quality preschool classroom ties into later learning that goes on in K-12. One thing you may have noticed that the teacher used was what my son and daughter call the mini books, which are the little paper books that are part of the open court reading system. And what she was doing was, those were a very elementary form of the books that the children will later use to actually learn how to read. And she was acquainting the children with those books and how to begin opening a book, where to begin to read, and that you're reading from one side to the other. And that's a skill that they need to learn. It's not something you're born with. And they need to learn it so that they can then be prepared as they go through kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade to be readers. And we all know that that's a key, ultimately, to success in education. The other thing I think I want to share with you is that not only is this sort of thing something you can see anecdotally, but there have been numerous studies that have been done that demonstrate the importance of preschool and how it makes such a big difference in outcomes. Children who enrolled in preschool programs are more likely to become proficient readers by the 3rd grade and are less likely to need special education. They're more likely to graduate from high school and go on to college and obtain jobs. Research also shows that access to quality preschool programs helps prevent children from becoming involved in crime later in life. Those who receive a quality preschool education are less likely to commit crimes as teenagers and adults. And I want to take a moment and acknowledge the leadership of our Chief of Police, Hiram, who is on the front lines in our neighborhoods, but also who has been a tremendous leader in the course of his leadership at the police department, and even before that, in understanding the critical importance of education and early childhood education and making sure that kids are set on the right path. We really appreciate your participation, your attendance here this morning, Chief. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. I think the other thing that I want to share with you is a point that a number of the speakers have made, and that is, despite all of the demonstrated beneficial outcomes of preschool education, not all children have access to quality preschool. There are very long waiting lists at many publicly funded preschool programs, and the children who lack access to preschool are disproportionately children of color. In a statewide survey, 3 out of every 4 publicly funded preschool programs had waiting lists, 3 out of 4, which means that tens of thousands of children, particularly low-income children, were left without the early education that they need. Now, here's something we should know. According to the 2000 census, 46% of California children are Latino, 34% are Caucasian, Asian Pacific Islander children make up 9%, African American 6%. Those of multiple race under the census, 4%, Native American, 0.5%. Our California Research Bureau reports that enrollment rates in preschool and child care vary dramatically by income and ethnicity. Latino children have the lowest enrollment rates among all the groups. There's approximately a 20% gap between the enrollment rate for Latino children and that of Caucasian and African American children. And similarly, there's a 25% gap in the enrollment rate of children from the poorest family as compared to those of wealthier families. So there's been a lot of talk lately about the achievement gap in later grades. I think these statistics provide a very important reason why we're seeing an achievement gap later on, because the gap begins in preschool and access to quality preschool. So these are some of the reasons why I've introduced Assembly Bill 571 earlier this year. My bill would increase access to effective quality preschool programs. It calls for quality preschool programs to be universally available to all 3- and 4-year-olds by 2011-2012, with a priority for 4-year-olds. The bill also provides for a professional system of professional development for preschool teachers. And what you saw there was the preschool teacher a moment ago was an example of a teacher who has been professionally trained, who knows how to work with the children, who's successful in the competencies one needs to have to be an effective teacher. We need to make sure that all of our professionals in this area are